Dyer says here. And so here's my challenge to you who are Reformed. Listen, understand, and if you don't automatically recognize where Jay Dyer is misrepresenting his former faith, maybe he was ignorant. It's possible. There's certainly lots of Reformed people who are. This stuff existed, was available when he was still Reformed. So, but the point is, you should be able to recognize it. And if not, then take it as a challenge to be able to deal with this. So let's take a look at what is said here.
Why don't I give you my top 10 reasons as to why I am no longer Protestant. Haven't been a Protestant since 2002, 3. And why I ultimately found it completely unconvincing. So there's not any specific ordering to these. It's not like this one is the clincher. They all kind of go together, and they were a process of things that I realized over time as a Protestant seminary student. Yes, I attended Bonson Seminary, the now defunct Reformed institution after the legacy and lineage of Bonson, which I guess went under. I don't know exactly what happened to it, but it doesn't exist anymore. But I did learn some things at Bonson Seminary. So for that, I'm happy. I'm appreciative. But ultimately, we're going to talk about how that system doesn't work. So number one, what is the first thing that comes to mind? I would say the inadequacy and unbiblical nature of Sola Scriptura itself. The idea that the only rule of faith for Christians, for the church, that it's the text of Scripture is itself ahistorical and unbiblical. Firstly, because...
Okay, can you tell why we've done so many debates on this subject in the past? He says there's no order, but this is almost always the first thing. And that's why it was the first debate we did against Jerry Matitix. We did multiple times with Jerry Matitix. We've done it with numerous other Roman Catholic apologists as well. And it is central in... we have responded, by the way, over the years. There used to be an Eastern Orthodox radio program here in the Valley. And I played comments that they made on Sola Scriptura. That was probably sometime around 2000, early 2000s, probably. It was a long time ago. But it will be fundamental approach. And so it's ahistorical. So that's why I said you want the 3-volume set there. You want William Whitaker's Disputations on Holy Scripture. You want George Salmon's Infallibility of the Church. You want Chemnitz' work on the Council of Trent. Not exhaustive, but between those sources, you will have literally hundreds of pages of citations from the early church fathers that you won't find in the Jurgens set published, promoted by Catholic Answers and people like that. And that's why my chapter in Sola Scriptura focused upon key affirmations. But here's the question. Do you know Sola Scriptura well enough to represent misrepresentations of it? Because Sola Scriptura is not saying that Scripture is sufficient for all things. If you hear someone say that that's Sola Scriptura, then you should know that they are either ignorant or purposely misrepresenting things. One of the two. There are specific terms. It's like, this is when we define the doctrine of the Trinity and talk about 3 co-equal, co-eternal persons sharing the one being that is God, if we played fast and loose with the terms being and person, we'd end up with immediate heresy. If I said there are 3 persons in the one person that is God, you should immediately go, oh, but what? And catch the error. Just as important, when we talk about Sola Scriptura, we are saying the Scripture is the sole infallible rule of faith for the church. And that is intimately connected to the nature of Scripture being God-breathed. What we're saying is there is only one God-breathed revelation that has been given to the church. That's what we're saying. And if you don't know that and don't see why that's central, then the misrepresentations, the straw men, will be piled up all around you. Then it's lit and you're toast.
Was no canon of Scripture in the early church. For many centuries,
I stopped at a bad place. Very, very often what you have is canon and sufficiency mixed together. And obviously they're related, but they're two very different issues. And this, again, just as Jehovah's Witnesses go for the Trinity, because they know that Christians don't know the Trinity very well, at least the ones they run into at the door, these folks go for Sola Scriptura and Canon. Because, again, when was the last time you heard a sermon on the canon of Scripture? You've probably heard sermons on the inspiration of Scripture, but sermons on the canon? How many Christian pastors do you know would be comfortable enunciating their reasons for not accepting the Apocrypha as Scripture? Not many. Because the vast majority of theological seminaries spend next to no time on discussion of the subject. Now, it's not that there aren't solid good reasons. One of the first debates I did, 1993, Boston College, Jerry Matetics, Apocrypha. One of the great debates, Gary Machuda, Apocrypha. It's not that the information isn't there. It's just that even most of our supporters and fans, if you were looking at my list of debates, where would those rank in your, I want to get some popcorn and watch that one list? Not very high, let's be honest. And so they go for where they know the weakness is. And it's an efficient and effective